So it's time. I think this might be the third year, Matt. Is that right? The third time we've done this one?
That sounds right.
Our Essen preview, where we talk about games that we're not going to see until further out. Because we are not attending Essen. But anyway, I forgot to say this is the meat of the episode. Because that's our thing now, apparently. And anyway, we've got maybe 10 to 12 games apiece that we're going to talk about. The ones that caught our eye. Obviously, there's about 12. There's 1,150 games or so.
Too many.
That are coming out. Now, a lot of these have came out at Origins and Gen Con. These are the German releases. But there are a lot of games coming out in Germany that, have not made it stateside, and they won't probably until mid next year, or maybe even later than that in some cases. So we're going to go through the games, and I don't know, who wants to start? You want me to start?
Sure. That's
what's happening.
Do it.
The first one I'm going to start with is 50 Clues.
All right. I've kind of seen this at Goodwill's, I think.
What?
Something like it.
No,
maybe it's something now. I know it's a different game, but
yeah, something like it, right? But this is a new game. There's actually 3 of them coming out at a time. Basically, they're Unlock the card game, and with a little bit of differences. There are 3 of them. There is 50 Clues, The Fate of Leopold, 50 Clues, The Pendulum of the Dead, and 50 Clues, White Sleep. I didn't actually read what they were about, as far as I don't think it says anything about the actual theme of each one or whatever, but they're basically different cases or whatever that you're going to solve. And much like Unlock, there's a deck of cards. The difference is you put these in order and then you flip them out. You do very, very similar Unlock style things, like combine card numbers together to get a new card. But unlike Unlock, the app handles when you add cards together. So if you combine 2 things, like, number 54 and number 27, you don't actually go get card whatever it was if you had those together. Like card 10 and card 30, you don't get card 40.
Right.
What happens is you type in 40 in the app, and it'll tell you a story and then tell you what card to grab, which I thought was pretty cool because it does have a lot more story this way. Because everything that you do has a paragraph that it responds to.
Even more app integration to it, I guess.
Well, I guess
unlocks. You really need the app as well anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The whole game is done with a scoring system, so when you finish, you get an actual score. I think it's a value.
Okay. I got like that better than
there's no time limit.
1 star.
So there's no time limit, but if you're sitting there taking a long time, depending on what card you recently got, it might come up with a timer that says you have 5 minutes. And if you don't finish it within the 5 minutes, you take a penalty.
It just tells you.
Right, but you can just keep going.
Okay.
So I guess maybe if you're playing the story and it's, kind of you're trying to investigate, and then all of a sudden something's happening and you need to run from something, that might be a time when a timer comes up. So it's more story driven, I think, than Unlock, or at least it seems to be. And man, it looks really cool. I'm not a huge fan of the artwork, or at least on the overview video that they showed. It's very black and white with red.
Okay.
And it's, I like the full color art.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But overall, it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. I think this might be a set of games that I end up getting because I like Unlock so much.
Right.
And the fact that they're not timed will be good for us.
Yeah. We go overtime every time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Matt, what you got?
The first game I have, there's not a lot about this game, but it's Donna Mankind. It's a tasty minstrel game. Just the description kind of drew me into it. It sounds like you have a clan. You're being nomadic. You're going along a trail. It sounds like you have to get food. The food can spoil. I wish I should have wrote down what the actual mechanisms were. It just sounded cool though, as far as what it was. And you invent things, but I really don't. I would assume it was the mechanisms is what drew me on, that I don't have in front of me right this second. So for future ones that I don't know anything about, I'll at least say what the mechanisms are and why I thought it was kind of cool.
No, that's fair.
For me, I have mine in no particular order, but on Mars, it's Eagle Griffin Games. It's one of their newer big box deluxeified. I'm not sure if all of them are deluxeified, but the big box ones, they've been producing some pretty good games here lately. It's where you're building a Mars colony. you have to make water extractors and greenhouses and oxygen makers and mines. So they kind of all integrate together. You know, you need shelters. Your shelters that hold your people need oxygen, which that requires plants, and the plants is going to require you to get water, and to get water you need power. To power you need to get these minerals. So it would be kind of interesting to see how all that kind of works together.
That's cool. Next up for me is Dice Settlers, the Western Sea expansion. And this is obviously expansion of the Dice Settlers, a game that I really enjoy. Mm-hmm. This has a lot of, it looks like it comes with a lot of different water tiles that you might either pre-build the game with or add in as you're playing. But there's like shipwrights and stuff, like ship dice and everything that you can actually, looks like you sail around and explore that as well. There are some white dice that are massive. They look like they're twice as big. They're huge. Remember those cool mini sea mine dice that we got? It looks like that, but it's just a huge white die and it has 2 symbols on it. They could probably print those 2 symbols on the small dice, but just make each symbol smaller. Nope. It's like take 4 dice and put them in a cube, and that's how big these dice are. They're massive. So the seasons in me wants to try this out. And it has it's a modular expansion, so it has a bunch of modules that you can add and take out, and etc. I'll probably just play with everything. More solo stuff if you're into that. But the dice and the fact that it has all this water and stuff, man, it looks super good. Very excited about this one.
Cool.
Sweet. My next game is Movie Empire. It's by Stimulus Games. Sounds more like a guilty pleasure game for me, but it seems like it has a little bit more going on than usual. Essentially, you are trying to make a movie. There is a pile of cards that will kind of dictate the market for like what people are interested in. If they want like an action movie or a thriller or suspense, whatever. So that kind of gives you the guideline for the movie that you're trying to make. Then it is up to you. You use worker placement and set collection to write your script, hire actors, and just do other things with that is movie, producing type things. And it's kind of neat because you can kind of go 2 different routes. You could either make the way they kind of described it is you can make like 2 big blockbusters or 7 trash movies.
Time to go the B film route.
I saw pictures. I saw one picture. I know it had like the director's like the scene clippy board that looked like
the storyboard.
Yeah, that looked like the your player board that you use, but I couldn't find anything else about it. I know I saw that somewhere. I don't know if that was like maybe an early
prototype
or something like that. But and they are doing what we hate when game companies do. They are releasing 2 expansions with this
at the same time.
At the same time.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
It's like they over designed the game, and the publisher is like, it's not going to sell. Yeah, cut some of this out. That's an expansion.
So the 2 expansions are coming out with is blockbuster titles and horror movies, and everything's very like parody. Like I know the one picture had like a.
Oh, so it's not actual licensing.
No, it's all parody. Like I know the one picture is like it has a guy with a red like vest on looking at his watch next to a silver car, and it says teenager goes in time. But in like the same
Back
font.
to the Future. Yeah.
But in the same font. So I love parody and things like that. So
that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's too expensive to try to get all those art
IPs.
It kind of reminds me of like a movie version of what's the CCG game that I own, Millennial Blades.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it kind of looks like that. So
cool.
All right, for me, my next game is Paranormal Detectives. It's by Lucky Duck Games. It's kind of like Mysterium in a way. One person is gonna play a ghost, and they're gonna communicate through a couple of different ways. One, kind of like the same way you do with Mysterium, you put out these tarot-sized cards. But other ways are you're gonna use a hangman's knots. I don't know exactly what you're going to do with that, but you're going to tell a story or give some kind of information with it. Also, you're going to create a word puzzle on a talking board. And you're going to also take the hand of one of the detectives and draw using their hand, I suppose.
This sounds really awkward.
It will be. So I'm looking forward to maybe
making
checking
people
it
feel
out.
Awkward.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. We're definitely getting this one. Next up on my list is Kingsburg, the dice game. which is exactly what it sounds like. It's Kingsburg, the dice game.
Dope. I like Kingsburg.
Except it doesn't seem like it has a lot of interaction. I don't know.
And Kingsburg is a dice-based game.
Yeah. Somebody made a comment that says, I thought Kingsburg was already a dice game.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a roll and write is what I mean by that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you have a paper that you're writing on. And just like in Kingsburg, there's the last space, like the really cool buildings, but you can only build those once. And I mean, it really just sounds like it's the same stuff, but I don't know if you actually interact with each other. Like in Kingsburg, you take a space, nobody else can take that space.
Right.
But I don't think you're doing that. Maybe, I don't know. Somebody briefly translate it with Google Translate. There's a couple of videos, but I can't remember if they're actually in English or not. So there's not a whole lot about the game out there other than it basically sounds like Kingsburg, the roll and write, which I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I would give it a try.
I'll probably give it a try. I doubt it's going to be better than Kingsburg and probably be a waste of time.
Yeah, maybe.
But it definitely piqued my interest.
Yes, and that's what this is all about.
Exactly.
It's not about if they're good or not. It's just what got us interested.
That's true. Hey, Stacy.
Yeah. Cool. So my next game is Cooper Island. It's from Capstone Games. It's a Euro style worker placement game. The board looks pretty neat. So it's got like this center board, and then it kind of has like 4 different boards coming off of it, and that's where all the players start on is their own like section of the board that's offshooting from the center. And it's kind of like an exploration game to where like you're exploring the tiles and getting resources and stuff like that, and there's barriers you have to take down to get further into it. And everyone's trying to get to the center. More stuff happens after that, but it just the layout of the board and everything to that point. I think you get ships eventually and kind of like drive around in the ship. I guess sail is what you do.
You drive around.
You drive around in the ship. So, but it is by the person that made Lagrange. So
fair enough.
It's promising.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, I like Lagrange. That's pretty awesome. I also like the dice game too, which I've yet to buy.
No Siesta.
Yeah.
I end up picking that one up myself, probably. Next one for me is Tapestry. I know that went on pre-order or whatever, and a lot of people already have that. But hey, if you don't, you can go to Essen and pick it up as well.
Well, a lot of reviewers have it.
No, you
pre-order. Is it out yet?
Oh yeah,
people got it delivered.
Right.
Oh well, whatever.
Well, a lot of people got it. Yeah, the first round.
Kickstarter? Is that what you said, or?
No, I don't think it went on Kickstarter. I think
it was just a preview.
Pre-order.
Oh,
right.
Gotcha.
But the pre-order was, I believe he opened it up like a week before it shipped out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, or maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. It was pretty soon after. And then I know when I looked at the ratings back then, people had bumped it down pretty good. You know, it was in the 6s. Right now, it's standing at 7.7. I've heard people's reviews on this game, and they're kind of mixed at the moment. It is a light civ building game.
Yeah, I kind of got that too. Like some people say, yeah, it's good, but
there's
a
like
couple
really
plays,
light, or a couple plays, or it's really depending on the tapestry cards that you get, and really luck based. So definitely, I would like to. I know the production value is going to be really nice. I would like to kind of try this out before maybe acquiring it at one point.
Cool. Next up on my list is a game that we actually talked about on the news section at one point. I think it's Heaven and Ale expansion called Kegs and More.
Kegs and More.
There's a couple of pictures that look pretty cool. It looks like you get another player board in which you have to store your ale and collect hay to ensure your delivery meal is well fed and strong.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole lot of information, but to be honest with you, Heaven and Ale basically has no theme. This is just more stuff to move. So, and Heaven and Ale is such a great game that I'm looking forward to it. I don't quite know if Heaven and Ale needed an expansion, but I like the game enough to be excited about this. So,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm noticing I really need to keep my thing down because it's
coming up in the other camera.
In the picture, yeah.
That's all good.
Let's see. Oh, my next game is High Rise. It's from Formal Ferret Games. What interested me in this is it has the one-way track like Tokaido, to where people can move to any space that they want, but they don't get to go until they are the last player.
This is called High Rise?
Yes.
We were talking about this before the podcast.
Yes.
And I'm going to look at it and see if this is the same game that I was telling you should look up.
Oh,
it's not.
It's
Keep
not.
going.
Okay. You're just making buildings. You get, you move to these spaces to get resources, also known as floors in the game, to try and build high-rise buildings. Once you make a building, I think your placement where you put it on the board matters. A lot of the videos, there was a lot of like prototype boards. I don't even think the board was done in a lot of the stuff I saw. And it really saddened me. There was like pictures of these really awesome plastic pieces, but I think that was a Kickstarter. It got canceled. The guy thought the price point was a little too high, so he dropped back to these cardboard pieces.
No.
I hope he changes his mind because they look really awesome. And there is like a corruption track on this also. So like, I think every space is like, well, you could get this action, but if you could get a little bit better benefit, but you have to take a little corruption to be able to get that benefit. And then, if you're each round, I think if you're the highest in corruption, something happens like a penalty. But at the end of the game, everybody's corruption will come into effect. So I guess if you're kind of staying with everybody throughout the game, you just don't want to be
the most.
Right. It sounds like. So yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Next for me is Chocolate Factory by Alley Cat Games. It's a Euro game where players take and make chocolate. It's kind of cool because in this game you have a player board. You have like a little conveyor belt on your player board where you're moving stuff to the left, and it pops out on the right. So it probably is a little gimmicky, but would like to give it a go and see what's about.
Fair enough. Matt, I'm going to inject this one in here. I didn't really read it, but I'll just read the paragraph.
Okay.
Basically, it's called Namiji, Namiji. Namiji?
Sure.
It's published by Funforge, same people. It says, Namiji features gameplay similar to Tokaido. The action spaces are laid out on the game board in a linear track, with players advancing down the track to take actions. The player who is currently last on the track takes a turn by advancing forward on the track to their desired action and taking that action. So players must choose whether to advance slowly in order to get more turns or to do rapidly to beat the other players to the desired action space. What players are doing on the track differs from what they do in Tokaido. It literally sounds like Tokaido 2.
Right.
And the artwork looks like Tokaido. Exactly. So, except for it's a square board and you kind of go around the board in like kind of a weird squiggly pattern.
Right.
But I mean, it looks like Tokaido, except for your player board has a ship. You're putting stuff on there, I guess. I don't know. Looks kind of neat.
Gotcha.
I'll pretend that's one of my games.
Oh, was that one of your games?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, it's a list.
My next game is Fistful of Meeples by Final Frontier Games. First of all, the name grabbed me because I do like the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns that had Clint Eastwood in them. I always thought those were very entertaining. But this is Wild West Mancala. So essentially you got a board and it's got a bunch of building or places it could be buildings around the outside. You're essentially picking up these meeples and dropping them in the street, and whatever building they're in front of, then they can go inside, and they don't really interact with the building. They interact with the people that are in the building. So like there is a drawbag that you can get gold and
our Kentucky accent just coming out
that you can get gold and stone that you pull out of this drawbag. You can use the gold to buy things, obviously, and then the stone is used to build actual buildings around the outside. What's kind of neat though is like if you have gold, or no, I don't know how the people keep their gold or whatever, but the thieves essentially when they go into a building, it's like they take gold from people. And there's different, like there's a sheriff, and so whenever the sheriff goes in, the thieves will get thrown in jail. And everybody's just using like the same meeples and all this. But you can't have a shootout in the middle of the street. I thought that was kind of neat. So yeah, it's just it seems interesting. So
cool.
Next one for me is the New Castles Burgundy. It comes with 11 expansions, 10 that was previously released prior, and one new expansion.
It comes with 11 expansions?
It comes with 11. They're little mini expansions.
Oh, like modules, basically.
Right. So, yeah, the box is a lot better looking than the previous version. And also the board and everything is a lot brighter and colorful. So,
is it brand new artwork?
It is.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
So it might be okay to look at now.
Right. So if you like Castle and Burgundy, check it out.
You gonna pick this up, Eric?
I probably will.
Fair enough. Next one on my list is the only 2-player game that I put on here. It's also kind of a kid's game.
Oh.
It's called Mine Deeper. So M-I-N-E, like you're mining stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The game essentially has this plastic 5x5 grid that stands in between the players. And each person's going to draw from a deck, and it'll tell you in this grid, it's like a plastic, kind of picture it like an Expedit shelf. That's exactly what it looks like. And on your side, you draw this gem sheet, and the gem sheet's going to tell you where you put all these gems. There's gold gems, there's red gems, and there's blank spaces. Or actually, I guess there's gray gems too. And so gray, blank spaces, maybe it's all gray. Gray, gold, and red, whatever. There's 5 red gems, and that's the goal of the game. You're trying to find these. So if Eric and I are sitting across from each other, I put which we are in real life. Not on camera, it doesn't look that way, but I will seed this up based on the card I got. You will seed your side up based on the card you have. In the middle of each of these cubes is a block that you push with this little shovel. And when you push it, it's going to knock the gem off on the opponent's side, and it's going to fall into the tray, and the tray is tilted to where it'll slide off to the left and show you what you found. And the reason you're doing this is because gray gems, I don't even think they're worth points. Well, actually, I know they're not worth points. They provide you no information. Yellow gems means that there's, maybe gray gems means, I don't remember what it was. One of them means that there's at least one other gem next to it, and another color means there's at least 2 gems next to it. And the whole idea is you're trying to find all 5 red gems before your opponent does. So on your turn, all you do is you push a block, it knocks the little thing off, you're done. And then you put it on your card. You have a blank sheet that you kind of keep track of where stuff is. So it's basically a Minesweeper. It pretty much sounds exactly like Minesweeper, except you're finding 5 gems. It looks pretty cool. I might be wrong, but I'm really thinking that this is developed by the same people who did Bling Bling Gemstone. It's published by, what is it, Korean Board Games?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Well, yeah, the Korean company.
Korean Board Game Company. Yeah. And I think that same symbol shows up on the Bling Bling Gemstone, even though it was published here by Mayday.
Right.
Or whatever, Hobby World or something. So anyway, it looks really cool. I'll probably end up getting this one because it'll be fun to play with Theron.
Awesome.
Yeah.
My next game is Ratville by Ediciones Primigenio. I've never heard of this company. It comes with a Spanish and English version, so I would assume it's a Spanish
That's
company.
the cool thing about Essen is you find all these games that pretty much will never come here.
Yeah. So there's not a lot on this game, but the box was really neat. Essentially the setting is you are leader of a group of survivors that lives in the sewers now. I assume something bad happened and there's bad things on the streets. So you just stay in the sewers and live.
Because we're Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, we're Ninja Turtles now. But it is a dice rolling, hand management, modular board, and it has variable player powers is what they listed as mechanisms. It says it mixes cards and dice and resource management to develop a community and confront terrifying creatures. That's all I have on it. There's nothing else about this game, so
that's fair.
And the box art was really neat, if I didn't say that already. But
I think that running through this, sometimes the box arts would grab you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, I mean, there's 1,100 games. It's kind of hard to
read about every single
one. Right?
Agreed.
Next one for me is Glenmore 2. We actually ended up playing the original Glenmore on tabletop. It did show us age a little bit, so this one's going to have a better artwork. It's going to expand the gameplay, so it's going to change it up a little bit. And the Chronicles part of Glenmore 2 is 8
campaign style things.
Campaign, like mini expansion kind of things to it. So sounds very interesting, and it's one of the ones that I would either pick up or definitely at least try out.
Cool. Yeah, I think that one was good enough for me to really consider buying it. And so when they talked about Glenmore 2, I was like, man, I'll wait. Just get that one.
Right.
I don't even know if the first one's hard to find or not, but
I believe it is.
Gotcha.
It's out of print.
I've got 2 for this next one, and it's basically 2 Pitchcar expansions or extensions is what they call them. These sound awesome. Unlike the Loop, which is whatever. I don't know. A lot of people like it. I didn't particularly think it would be fun to play with.
Didn't like the loop.
Did you like the loop?
It was all right.
Like, I don't think it'd be worth buying it because it's so expensive. I think it was like $70 or $80
for just a loop.
Yeah, it's
right,
crazy.
Never mind. Yeah, I'll skip that loop.
Too expensive. But these, however, are amazing. One is the extension 8 called the Upsilon, Upsilon. Upsilon.
Sounds right.
Whatevs. They are Y adapters. It comes with 2 of them, and it splits the track into 2 tracks, and then you can go back in with the other Y adapter into 1 track.
Yeah, so you can kind of choose the way you want to go.
Right. And I guess if you had enough pieces, you can make one dangerous but shorter, and then like a shortcut,
right?
But the other one more straightforward and easier.
Right.
Oh, I'm looking so forward to those. Yes. The second one I'm just talking about because they're so small anyway. I probably won't get this, but it is nice. It's an extension, the adapter, and it adapts the track into the mini Pitchcar track. So if you already have mini Pitchcar, do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen mini Pitchcar.
It's like a third the size. So all the tracks are like a third the size. I mean, you're flicking like nickel sized, maybe smaller than that cars. Everything's real small. But you don't switch cars, so it just goes down to these tiny little tracks that you're playing on, and then it has another one that you can convert out of it.
Oh.
If you already have Pitchcar mini stuff, this is probably made for you. This is amazing. I don't necessarily know I'll get it. I have a lot of Pitchcar stuff, but I don't have any of the mini stuff. It's very sad because at one point it was on sale on Cool Stuff for like dirt cheap. If I would have known this was a thing, I would have totally bought it all.
So
yeah, but anyway, I'm looking really forward to the Y adapter. That's amazing.
Me?
Yep.
Me?
Yeah. Mine.
Mine? My next game is Merchant's Cove. This is one of the ones I'm more excited about in the list. I've already talked about one other one, which was the movie one. I have one more coming later that y'all can laugh about, but that's fine. But this is by Final Frontier Games. This game is one of those games that you just look at and you're like, I want to play this game. It's a nice, big, pretty board. It is asymmetrical, so everybody plays like a different role, but you're playing the same game. So I guess everybody's trying to do the same thing, but you just do it differently. One of the neater ones is you can be an alchemist, and so your player board has got like this bottle shaped thing at the top that slants, and it has marbles on it. I don't know if you have to pull them out in a certain order or not, or if it's just a holder, but it just looks cool. There are miniatures with this game. And the way it's laid out is essentially I get
a lot of people just said, oh,
what's that?
Because you said it has miniatures.
The miniatures are just for like, they could have used cubes or something. Like
I know.
Okay. Yeah.
Anytime somebody mentions his miniatures, some people get completely turned off.
Oh no, it's just they're literally just to like, I think because you can hire town folk or something like that, and that's what they are, is like just people to put on your board.
Gotcha.
I really don't know much beyond that. There is a little bit about this game out. But what was the next part I was going to talk about this game?
Matt Drew Blake.
Oh, it's got it's one of those things. So like you're taking actions, but depending on what action you take, it costs like a certain amount of time. And there's a clock on the board that like it has hands on it, but that's kind of how you keep track of who gets to go next. And so it kind of reminds me of like Warcraft whenever you used to like move your miniatures because everybody had like a different time.
Oh yeah, I got you.
You know, to go
the
or
U
whatever.
bases or whatever.
Yeah, the U bases. But yeah, it looks really neat. There's like boats with like villagers coming up to you. And the point of the game is villagers are coming up to you, or people are riding to your village, and you have to meet their demands on whatever kind of stuff they're wanting. I guess everybody has different ways to come up with the stuff that they want. The boats are really neat looking, even though they oddly enough look like Viking boats, but they're awesome looking though. They're really neat looking. And then like the meeples were even like, I think they are like screen printed on, but it was like each meeple, like one would look like a wizard and one looked like a warrior, and it was just kind of neat looking. So
no, I like screen printed meeples.
Yeah, it's because I don't think they get handled a lot, so it probably wouldn't matter. But yeah, it's it just looks like a really big kind of neat game. It comes in a massive box, like Heroes of
Land, Air, and Sea.
Yeah, like that size box.
Goodness.
So it's a very big box. That or
mega game.
That or the person holding the box was very tiny. I don't know, but the box looked big.
Awesome. Next one for me is Suburbia Collector's Edition. This is a game that we played in the past. Very good game, just not pretty looking. This kind of makes that a little better. They updated the artwork again. One bad thing is the price point. It is, past $100. I don't know how much past. Yeah.
Jeez.
I think it was 130 euros, whatever that conversion rate is.
That's like what, $170? Let's see, 130 euros to US. To dollars. The dollar 142.66 at current conversion rates.
So yeah, so you're gonna put down a good amount of dough on this one, but it does look nice. It has a lot of good components in it. It does include all the past expansions and one new one about a nightlife. It says it does something in the night phase, and I don't remember night phase. That must be in the 5-star expansion or something. What is it in this expansion?
I think there actually is a whole expansion about the night phase, isn't there?
Well, the nightlife expansion is part of this collector's edition.
I think that has the night phase.
Right. I'm not sure. That
we've only really played the base game.
Yeah. There's nothing else that brings in the nighttime stuff other than that expansion, I don't think.
There's a 5-star expansion, but I can't even remember if I own it. That's pretty bad when you have a lot of stuff you don't remember if you own or not.
Yeah, same way. But cool. Yeah, looks nice. Check it out.
Well, I got one that's going to sound kind of familiar, so I'm just going to read the description and then watch y'all's faces. Poisons is a bluff-based card game where players have to carefully weigh their risks to earn points. Each turn, players will secretly put a card from their hand into each opponent's drink. An incautious liquid, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Raise your goblets.
Or a deadly poison. When everybody's cup is filled, each player decides whether to drink. If you don't drink, you get minimum points. If you do drink, you might get a ton of points. But if there's a single dose of poison in the glass, they get nothing. So, I know you guys hate Raise your goblets for the most part.
It wasn't that bad.
Well, true. But this one is actually designed by some good designers. We have Chris Darsaklis, which he did When I Dream.
Okay.
And it's also co-designed by Bruno Faduti. So I feel like he's pretty competent at card games, and I really liked Raise Your Goblets more than you guys. So maybe this will be my Raise Your Goblets replacement game.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I like the art. This is by Ankama, or published by Ankama. I really like the art of the box. I'm not too sure about the cards. The cards remind me of kind of like a Dixit style eclectic art.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
Kind of like When I Dream art.
Yeah. Well, no, actually more Dixit. Like When I Dream's kind of more like curvy and very bright. This is very colored penciled style artwork and kind of weird. Anyway, there's some advanced gameplay where you got different drink things that you can add into people's drinks, special abilities and such. So I don't know. It looks really cool. And the fact that it is going to replicate or do some of what Raise Your Goblets, even though Raise Your Goblets had some sweet goblets, this should be pretty fun.
My next game is called Skytopia. It's by Cosmodrome Games. There's not a whole lot about this game. It is a worker placement, and it sounds like you engine build with that also. Essentially, the story is something about finally these golems wake up and they're going to help you build the city.
The art looks awesome.
Yeah, the art on the box. Again, that's kind of what grabbed me into it.
Yeah.
But it's there's nothing else besides it. It sounds like there's a big gear clock that you use probably for the turn sequence or something. But it sounds like you send golems out, they build stuff for you, and then that will give you some kind of activation power to use, for the rest of the game. So kind of building a little engine. But yeah, it sounds neat. So
yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
What you got, Eric?
Next one from me, yeah. So it's Gugon Pengoon. Hopefully I said that right. So it's a expansion to Gugon, which has 4 different modules. Not sure why everybody wants to go that module route. Kind of like here's this expansion, this is all it adds, instead of here's these 4 modules.
I really like here's a bunch of stuff, shuffle it in.
Right. That's a new game.
Yeah.
So I like that a little better, but this adds a little bit more. As a Summer Panelist, Peasants Revolt, Palace Stairs, and extra decrees and gift cards. So adding more to a game that I really like can't be bad, right? So
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, I haven't played it, but you said it was a good game.
It was, yeah.
Next up for me is by Inside Up Games. It's called The Quick and the Undead, which is a great punny name. I mean, that's fantastic. The artwork on the front looks great. It's a zombie being shot to death by a first-person view with a cowboy with some 6-shooters. It's fantastic art. There's really not a whole lot about this game out. No pictures, no rule books, not even forum post, anything. But they did a good job on the description, which basically reads, each phase or round of the game is played over like 3 action phases. And what you have is an 8-sided die, and everybody kind of hides that die and selects an action space that they're going to want to do, like number 4. When you reveal, you're going to go to those action spaces with your little player meeples, or they call them outlaws, I think. When you go to that space, if 2 or more players go to the space, they have a shootout, so some combat resolution probably. And otherwise, you're trying to kill undead. There's a bunch of undead that you're trying to kill, and after you play a character, then you'll do it again. You'll do it again. So you'll do 3 actions, but you can't do the same action twice because your guy will be there. Maybe I wonder if your guy gets shot, then you can go there again. Because if you got shot in the duel or something, it doesn't say that in the description. But at the end, you'll be able to buy a building, which gives you special abilities. And that's going to be 1 day after you do 3 actions. Basically, after that, you'll gather up all your guys. And the game has a trigger where I think it said if there's less than the number of players worth of zombies in the street, the game will come to an end. Otherwise, you play another round and kind of do the same things over and over. So, sounds really cool. The art looks great. I'm glad they added a really cool description of the round overview. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the actual game looks, because if it looks anything like the artwork, it's going to be awesome.
Right. My next game is Imagineers. It's from Meeple Games. What kind of reeled me into this was the box art looked neat. I kind of looked at it then. No. Okay. So you're building.
What's it called again?
Imagineers.
Okay.
You're building an amusement park. I think it's kind of like a pick up and deliver with meeples and stuff like that. And it sounds like you move the meeples around, try and get money, buy new roller coasters. I think I was expecting to see like kind of like was it Steam Park?
Steam Park.
It's just tiles though. That kind of let me down a little bit. I was like wanting to see some like 3D stuff on the board. So
yeah,
it was just kind of a letdown. I was expecting just a little bit more. That would have been like really cool if they did that. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe it plays decent. So
sweet.
We'll give you a little 2-for-1. Everdell, they're going to come out with 2 expansions by Starling Games. As Belfair and Spirecrest. Belfair has some modules as you can play with 5 or 6 players now. It also has a new market, as well as new end-game goals and some special event cards. And then Spirecrest as these weather cards. That's going to impose some challenges on you. It's going to give you some discovery cards, as well as these big critter mounts that you're going to be able to use in the game. So, all pretty good. Look for our talk on Pearlbrook, which we haven't got to the table just yet, but we'll get there soon.
That's fair. Yep. Next thing, I have a lot of expansions on this one. Yeah. Actually, we have a lot of expansions. Probably. Maybe. Did y'all have expansions?
I didn't have one.
Expansions and reprints.
Yeah. Mine is a small expansion for Santa Maria called the Exploration Deck.
It comes with game.
Yeah. We need to play it again. It's funny because I've only played on Tabletop Simulator and I've never played my actual copy.
I know. Wow.
But basically, it comes with 26 cards. 6 of them are nationality cards, which will change up your starting resources and kind of give you a unique starting point for the game in comparison to other players. It also has 20 achievement cards, which are drafted at the beginning of the game, and they give you bonuses when you complete them, basically. Which I kind of feel like both of these would have been awesome in the base game. I don't know why. Maybe they just added it in later, and it wasn't cut from the original game. But this seems like something that would have been in there originally as like advanced game, and then they took it out. But I'm looking forward to it. I can kind of see this being an auto include for me because of, other games that do very similar thing. Mm-hmm. First off, any kind of in-game scoring achievements that you drafted at the beginning of the game are really cool, I think. Yeah. And the fact that you have, I don't know if the starting nationalities provide any kind of special abilities or if it's just different resources. So we'll see if that's awesome or not. But
right.
Anyway, that's Santa Maria, the exploration deck.
My next game is Wormlord from Sit Down with an exclamation point.
Sit down.
This, again, it just interests me. I really don't know what to expect from this game. There is nothing on this game, by the way, either. No pictures, nothing. The box just has worms wearing night gear. And I thought that was cool looking.
Kind of reminds me of the Worms video game.
Yeah. And so it, whenever you're sitting there reading the description, it's talking about worms. Everyone thinks they're slow and this and that, but they're here to prove us different. And evidently there's different gangs of worms, or there's
SEAL Team Worms.
Yeah, there's Yellow Gang and blue worms and all this other stuff. Also, it does sound weird. It says it has no turns. The whole game is simultaneous. It sounds like you're using some kind of grid or something and you're tying knots. That's all it says.
That sounds interesting. Basically, it's a knitting game.
It's either going to be really like, oh wow, this is kind of neat, or
it's going to be like, oh, so trash.
It's going to be
like
really garbage.
It's going to be one or the other for sure.
Yes. So we'll wait and see. Like I said, there's no videos, no pictures of like the game itself or anything. So
yeah, man,
we'll see.
This is going to be so random.
All right, next one for me is Key Market. It was actually released previously, so this is the second edition. It was released previously in 2010. Well, if you didn't get a chance to try it then, now you can try it out again. They updated the version. They updated the rules. They put 4 new guilds in it, and they rehashed the guilds and rebalanced them. I just ended up playing Keyflower.
What'd you think of that? I figured you would like that game.
Yeah.
Because you talk about mooching off people.
Right.
Did you play it after I left?
No.
When did you play it?
I've played it a couple of times, just with Melissa.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
2-player.
That's right.
That game is just a big mooch fest.
Well, yeah, you get to bid and you mooch off their cities if you want to.
I guess it's not even mooching. I guess you take control of their thing, don't you? Don't you get to actually use it for that turn?
You do get to use it. They can go and overbid, kind of like overbid, I guess. Put more meeples of their color or that certain color down there and use it themselves. You do mooch off them, but they do get a benefit if you mooch off their player board because they get those meeples to bid with next round.
Right.
Cool.
But looking forward to trying out this Key Market because I want to try out more of these key games.
Eric's on the key binge.
Binge.
All right, so the last 4 games or so that I have are probably my most looking forward to games, I would say.
How many?
I've got 4 left.
Oh man, I got 1.
I've got 2.
Oh well, crazy, crazy.
Put them together.
Well, okay, maybe I'll do 2 in a row here.
All right.
One is Runestones. If you did not catch our Gen Con episode where we talked about Gen Con and what we did while we were there, one of the games I did get to play is Runestones. This is by Rudiger Dorn, the same person who did Luxor, the Spiel des Jahres nominee, right? Did it win? I totally forgot already.
I thought it won. I could be wrong.
Maybe I did win. No, I don't remember. Anyway, we're terrible. It's only been like 5 months, 4 months, 3 months. How long's it been? Who cares? In Runestones, players are using their cards to buy more cards, and they're going to buy these Runestones that give you special powers. You can only ever have like 4 of those. And without going in a lot of detail on the actual rules, the game was really good. I mean, I really liked it. And the fact that it has like multiple uses for all your cards, do you use them to buy more cards or do you use them to do special abilities? Because when you do that, you have to discard multiple cards and they're numbered and you have to discard, I believe, like the highest one. So when you do an action, you have to actually sacrifice a card basically. And that card's gone. You might really like the ability, so maybe you'll buy another card that has a higher number so that hopefully you have those both in your hand so you can keep it. Oh man, the artwork's amazing. The gameplay is really, really fun. It's fast paced. And I think it's like maybe a step up of Gateway, maybe
Gateway Plus.
Kind of like Luxor, how it was, maybe a little bit more in depth because it has that deck building aspect to it. But no, super good game. I'm looking forward to that one. And actually, I scrolled down to look at the pictures again, and I realized they're all mine on Board Game Geek. Anyway, next is, I'll just do 2 here. Next is Word Bank. This is, I'm not usually a big word person, like a word game person. This game looks awesome. So it has a deck of cards similar to Spot It, where they're all circles. They kind of look like the combination locks for a vault. You know, the back of them do. And what you do is you flip out 7 cards around in a circle around the deck. All this circular stuff kind of gives the idea that you're trying to break into a vault because you're trying to guess passwords. Anyway, each card has a giant letter on it, like R, F, G, I, whatever. And each letter, depending on how hard it is to use, has a certain amount of spaces that you're going to put gems. Each player starts with a certain amount of gems, and you need to get rid of all of them. And so what happens is you look at the words or the letters around the lock in the middle, and you might come up with a word. So in the example of the picture that they have on here, I might say, rise. And you're gonna start with R and then go clockwise around. And you can skip letters, but you can't go a full rotation. So I can't do R. Maybe you might be able to go back to R, but I know you can't go past R. The reason that's important is because you're using vowels a lot. You might skip over a lot of consonants to get to the vowels. So anyway, you'll do rise and you'll skip the F, the G, and the I and not the I's. You'll do the I and then S and then the E. When you do this, you actually put one of your gems on each of those cards that you used. So the bigger the word that you say, the more gems you get rid of. And the whole point is, it's like golf. You're trying to score the lowest points. So at the end of the game, whenever somebody ends it, I don't really necessarily understand that part, because if you get rid of all your gems, don't you pretty much automatically win? But whatever. There's probably
you might be playing more rounds, maybe.
It said, well, maybe you do a certain amount of rounds, but I don't remember if it actually said that. It says, after your turn, as soon as a player has no more gems in front of them, the game ends. Each player counts all the gems in front of them and on letter cards in play. That's what it was. So even though you might not have any gems left, you might still have gems on cards, because the card stays out until all the spaces are filled. When it's all filled, the player who used that last space takes that card, and all those gems go away. So if you leave cards out with a bunch of people's gems on, those are negative points at the end of the game. So even though you end the game, if Eric only had 2 gems left and I end it, but I have like 6 gems out and he only has 1, he has a score of 3 and I might have a score of 6. So that makes sense.
Gotcha.
I didn't read that part.
Okay.
Anyway, looks really good. This is a blue-orange release, so that made me even more excited.
Yeah, that seems neat.
Yeah.
My next game is Last Bastion from Repos Games.
Eric's favorite.
Last Bastion.
This is Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
It's Ghost Stories. But for some reason I didn't like Ghost Stories. But when I played this at Gen Con, I liked it. So I don't.
Then you like Ghost Stories.
Mind blown.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't
Change
know.
the theme. You like. Oh.
Maybe it's the special abilities that were present.
I don't know.
I
But
think the special abilities were the same.
I don't know. No, yeah, because when I was describing it to Eric,
that's
it.
That's
That's in it.
That's the red.
Everything's the same.
Maybe just like the theme.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's kind of like tower defense-ish theme. Kinda. Not really.
I mean, but it was kind of the same thing in Ghost Stories, but
Well, I mean, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was just a bad experience.
Maybe you should play Ghost Stories again.
Ghost
Maybe I
Stories
should.
just beat you down.
Yeah, maybe I could play Ghost Stories again, because
Yeah.
I know what it is now.
Yeah. All right, last game for me is Marco Polo 2. It is on behalf of the con. So in Marco Polo, you are traveling off to the east to go to Beijing. This one is a standalone game. You are traveling to the west on behalf of the con. So I didn't see a lot about this game out just yet, or I didn't see it in my just looking at it real quick.
There's a few pictures and a description.
Right. So I believe it's gonna use a lot of the same elements. I bet they change it up a little bit. But I like Marco Polo quite a bit, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring with this one.
Cool. I've got 2 more. One is well, I'll just do one. Matt, you got one more?
Mm-hmm.
And you're done, Eric?
I am done.
All right, cool. I'll do one. Matt will do one, and we'll finish with my last one, which will be epic for many reasons.
All right.
This was called Expedition to New Dale. It's by Lookout Games, and it's essentially the board game version of Oh My Goods, which is a small little card game that you only play with cards. The rule book is out. I skimmed over it, but I didn't really read through it all because we were doing so much research on all the other games. The cards look just like Oh My Goods. The action structure, or not the action, but the round structure looks similar, except the event card comes out and then a random number of meeples come out, which is kind of adds a press your luck element to it, because you might be trying to build certain things and need certain amounts of meeples or whatever. And so you can maybe press your luck and get, one away, and hopefully that comes out for the next event type of idea. And then you have these action markers that you'll put on these action spaces on your player board that are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. The interesting thing is, and there's a board with all these different bonus tiles on it. You're going to be building these villages on the different spaces and kind of connecting them and stuff. Overall, it kind of looks like, it really does look like Oh My Goods, the board game. But one thing it does have is there's 12 campaign games that you play through. So there's like 12 games that you can play through, and each one has its own board. So you flip over. I think it comes with 6 boards, and you flip them over, right? And they play much different than each other, which is what they did with Oh My Goods. It came out with a base card game, and then they released, I think, 2, but maybe 3 expansions that are campaign style.
Right.
So you'd play a game, and then you would play the next game, and I don't think you take anything from one to another, but you do have like a storyline. So this takes place after the 5th storyline of the card game, but you don't need to know that, because in the rule book, it has a whole, I think it says
sums it all up
where we left off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it just looks super, super good. I'm very excited about this one, because I like Oh My Goods, but the fact that it's a board game and it's expanded a little bit, that's awesome. I'm in.
Sweet. My last game is one of the ones I'm more excited about, and everyone can laugh at me, but I don't care. It is Minecraft Builders and Biomes. It is by Ravensburger. They have been doing decent with IPs that they've been buying here lately. They've got the Jaws game and the Jurassic Park game, supposedly
Horrified.
Decent, yeah, Horrified. This game there was already a Minecraft game, but it was very just like play cards and this and that. This feels a little bit
like
more
Splendor.
Yeah, this is a little bit more fleshed out, to where there's like a grid of cards in front of you that has different, like, as the stacks are turned over, it's like a certain biome. So it might be like a desert card or a forest card or something. And you move around to be able to pick the biome card up. Then you do actually have a player board that you're trying to place all the cards on, or the tiles, I'm sorry. And eventually you will get resources. So you also start the game with a I want to say it's probably like a 5 by 5 by 3 tall cube. And scoring is determined by, once the last cube is taken on each level, then that is when scoring. So you can kind of like get into the second and third level, but until the whole top level's gone, scoring won't happen.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And the reason you're taking the cubes is because those will be resources. They're going to be wood. They're going to be, different ores and stuff like that. And the reason you're doing that is because as you're making your own like little, exploring your own little map in front of you, there can be buildings that you can build on each one and stuff like that. And I do know part of the scoring is done by on your player map that you're building, having like contiguous. Yes, thank you. Areas of certain biomes. So if you got like a T shape of desert, then that's going to be like 4 or 5, however many you got. It just looks like it's actually a very well fleshed out version of Minecraft. It's I'm surprised it took someone this long to do it, but
that's cool,
because I would think that would have been a pretty decent gravy.
No, I mean
to jump on, but.
It's funny because when we were playing Unearth, I kind of get a little bit of Minecraft feel by the blocks and stuff.
Right.
So I always thought they could make a good Minecraft game if they put them onto it.
There is, I don't know that there's really like crafting swords. I think you kind of find them. I could be wrong on that, but there are mobs too. So there's Endermen and creepers and stuff like that. I guess they flip up on the tiles that you're walking around with.
Yeah.
But you can fight them to get different things and stuff like that. So,
well, that's cool. Last game I have is definitely epic. It's called Western Empires, and it takes 12 hours to play.
Oh my goodness.
And it's always 12 hours.
It's like exactly 12.
Yeah. It's a timed game, and it plays 5 to 9 players. This is basically a reworking of Mega Civilization. But for 5 to 9 players, eventually they're going to release Eastern Kingdoms, which will, they said something about taking it up to 80 players. I don't know about all that.
Oh no.
But let's just say that it's the same player count and you can play it with 18. Anyway, this is about 999 games. What's really cool about this is that every phase is simultaneous with all players. So they're all timed phases and you just do stuff, which kind of really makes me think Sinji style gameplay. Right. And there's a trade phase, much like Trade on the Tigris, where you have all these different resources, but the best resource of each, so like the highest gold, has a calamity to it. So yeah, you got a lot of resources for it, but you get a very bad detriment to it because you have a calamity.
Right.
And all the different resources have these calamities. And every time you trade, it's much like Pit, where you have to trade 3 cards for 3 cards, but you're allowed to, you have to tell the truth about 2 of them, and you can lie about the 3rd one. And it has this element. And the game, it says it's more about culture and civilization building, like actually what you're doing. And it has war built in. It's more like border conflicts, but the war is very low. Like there's not a whole lot of war. I would imagine that it happens quite a bit throughout 12 hours, but not as much as it would be in like a 4X game or something like that.
Yeah. You're out of it hour 1.
Yeah. So
you got 11 hours to go.
Yeah. Whoa.
Peace out.
Yeah. I don't think it could be eliminated.
Yeah.
If so, then this gets scratched from my list heavily. But man, it's just, when you look, there's no pictures of it, but there is a Board Game Geek from Gen Con where they kind of previewed the game because it's going to be coming out, and it just looks crazy. The board's huge. It kind of reminds me of what's that game you had, History of the World?
Okay, yeah.
Like idea wise, what's going on, but there's all these player boards and stuff you can go up on, all these different civilization cards, I think, or not civilization card, but like technology cards. I think there's like 51, but you only use about 20 of them or so, 25 of them. So you can play the game a few times, which you probably won't. But this would be a good...
Some people will.
The fact that it's... The reason I also like it is because I really wanted to get Mega Civilization. I was like, that sounds amazing. We'll play it one time and we'll never play it again. But the fact that it's 12 hours consistently, because probably a lot longer because you might want to take a break or two.
Take a break.
Right.
Yeah. But if you set a time limit on each phase and everyone goes at a time, there's not a single phase in the game where one person resolves something before another person. It's like time to move. You have 5 minutes and everybody starts moving stuff. So I don't know. Hopefully that's done really well to where it's not so irritating with, I'm going to move there. Why did stuff like that.
Yeah.
But sounds very, very awesome. Western Empires. Well, this is a shorter podcast than normal. I kind of set it up for George. He's out, so we have a few minutes. But while we're at it with Essen, do you ever see yourself going to Essen? I mean, I know we talk about it a whole lot, but that's a huge investment to do.
Right. Not unless I was going there for something else or someone paid for me to go there. But if any of those two happened, yeah. If I was there or around there.
I think we'd have to be pretty big podcast and have like Kickstarters and stuff and have people like help pay our way, because
I don't see me going through this. I might go one day. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not going to say I wouldn't ever.
Yeah, right. No, I don't know. It'd be cool though. The only thing I don't like about it is that apparently it closes each night. It's not a 24-hour convention.
Oh.
Which is slightly irritating, but they say there's a lot of space to go and play games after hours. But there's
like
not
all the hotels and whatnot. It's just like Gen Con.
Yeah. But the different, like, are there events that, I don't think any events are scheduled to run after hours unless they're not part of the convention technically, quote unquote.
So It doesn't feel as like Gen Con is literally like,
it's a 24-hour convention for 4 days. Yeah. Origins like 5 days, 24 hours a day. There's always something to go do and get into. This one's more about consumer show, stops, go home, play games for however long, come back to the consumer show, I'm not even really sure if there's a ton of events. I don't know.
I bet there is.
There probably is. I would assume there have to be.
Right.
Play events to play games and
exactly same thing as Gen Con, other major conventions. There's going to be tournaments and.
Oh, there'll probably be a lot of tournaments. I wonder if there's a lot of non-gaming stuff. Like cosplay.
Like they do the spa events at Gen Con, which is
I learned how to tie bondage ropes.
Right.
Yeah, Gen Con had some weird events, but I don't know. I was thinking about that as I was going through this list. There's so many really cool games that we've talked about on the Essen lists in the past couple of years, and you don't see some of them even make it stateside.
Right.
So it'd be really cool to go there and buy stuff.
I'd big it all up. Yeah.
Oh man, I think if it would be so expensive because you'd have to ship all that back and
put it in my luggage.
You just take the clothes that's on your body and like 3 empty suitcases.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the only bad thing is if you bought a ton of games, how do you get them back without spending a ton of money? So
luggage.
All right, we done with this?
Yep.